Please find your hall and sit down. Do you have the moderators?
Check 2.
Sir,
3.
you have to moderate the second session. Are you presenting for? You're a panelist, okay. Oh, somebody has carried my program. This is ebony, so don't look at the upper that is written there. Please take your eyes off that. This is ebony. Okay? Are you setting on the projector?
They say we should saturate it and there's no space here.
We'll figure it out. Just let's try. 1 minute. Yes, sir. Is this Mr. Afalabi? Yes. Oh, okay. So your session is to hold here, and it should start now. Yes. Somebody give me.
You will be needing this, sir.
Okay, wait. Is it on this one? Is it on this one?
Yeah, good morning, every one of us. We welcome ourselves to this breakout session. I understand this Ebony Hall, where we'll be talking or sharing with ourselves about investment opportunities. Investment opportunities in the watch sector in Lagos State. And don't forget, let's remember the topic for our discussion here for LIWAC 5. The topic for discussion is financing watch sector for Greater Lagos. And that is why we are saying that there are a lot of investment opportunities here. Let me start by saying this. I try to look at the working definition. If anybody is going for an investment somewhere, you want to first of all ask, what is the market? What are the opportunities? What is the assurance that this product I'm going to prepare or to manufacture, that there will be market for it? And if we look at the working definition of the population of Lagos State, let's say 20 million, and an average per capita consumption per day is 100 liters. That means that in Lagos State, we will have an opportunity to sell 2 million cubic meters of water. 2 million cubic meters. Now, a cubic meter is 5 drums. So 200 times 5. No, yeah, 2 million. Yeah, that is like a billion drum, 1 billion drums per day. 1 billion drums. Now let's now say that we sell 5 drums of water for 300 naira. Assumption. No, I think it's even real. That's about what they say. 2 million cubic meters of water multiplied by 300 naira. We're saying that in Lagos State we can make 600 million naira per day. There is market for water for 600 million naira per day in Lagos State. That's a very huge market. There is a huge market for water in the state, and that is enough to whet the appetite of an investor, that if I go there, I'm going to sell my water. Now, 2, enabling environment. Enabling environment are those tools that have been put in place, instruments that are in place that will guide not only the producer but also the consumer. One of the enabling environment is that, do we have a policy? Do we have a law? What do I do if I sell this water and nobody pays for it? The law is there to guide us. The policy is there to guide every producer. That, well, once I supply water and they buy, they will pay. And in any case, this is a new technology that is coming up. For example, if you have your phone, if you don't have money, if you don't recharge, if you don't have airtime, what happens? You don't make a call. You can't even make a call because you don't have airtime. The same way in the water industry now, we now have what we call smart meter. The smart meter enables you to sell water upfront. Enable the investor to sell water upfront to the customer. That they pay upfront. So in which case, you have some cool money in your bank account. And then again, when they now use, as they use the water, the money reduces. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Just like all of us, we buy recharge card up front. Maybe you buy 1,500 or you buy 5,000 to be used for a week or for 2 weeks. That money is already with the service provider. Yet you are not using it. So that is also a cool money to the producer. So the smart meter enables us. I mean, it is an opportunity for us to know that we are not selling this water to people on credit. Now, the analogy I made when we started, when I said there is a demand for 2 million cubic meters of water per day, is only for households. That is not for residents. We've not taken care of industries, hotels, commercial services, public institutions. We've not taken care of that. And we know that there are 4 customer categories. We have the household, we have the commercial people, we have the industry, and then we have the public institutions like churches, mosques here and there, then commercial places like hotels. Then industry, we have the Coca-Cola, we have the 7-Up, we have Nigerian breweries, we have Guinness. These are uptakers. They are uptakers. So that is to further strengthen the fact that we said that there is a very huge market for the commodity in Lagos State. Now, we now go to how do we finance this? As somebody coming into as an investor, there are various ways you can raise funds to come into this. You can use your equity money that is raised from the capital market. You have a company, you raise equity, and then that money that is there becomes the money for the company, which you can use to invest. You can take an estate. You can apply for an estate. For example, Ikorodu is a very big market where we have over 1 million people. Recent research says that or indicates that in Ikorodu alone, where Ikorodu is bigger than some state capitals in Nigeria. The population of Ikorodu alone is bigger than what? Some state capital. I think we have some. It's bigger than where you mention Osogbo, where you mention Akure, where you mention Ado-Ekiti, where you mention Birnin-Kebbi, where you mention where is Jigawa na capital of Dutse, where you mention even Jalingo. Where you mention Jalingo, it's bigger than that. I mean, no that of Yola. Yola might be. It's mentioned Damaturu in the Yobe. Ikorodu is bigger than that. So if you have an investor coming to that place, and I know that apart from uptown, there is a water treatment plant there that has been abandoned for years. That a private provider can partner with the public, with government, or with water corporation to provide services in such an area through the PPP or through a PPP arrangement. Apart from that, we have some other areas. We have Bariga areas. We have I don't know. We have, that's what other communities in Lagos State, Epeasis. We have some Agege. You want to that is an area of interest to you. Even Ikeja, that's an area of interest for you. Even this VI, that's an area of interest for you. And you know, if you are in this environment, if an investor is in this environment, it's a highbrow area. The average per capita income of the people is very high here. So the market, the tariff that you will charge in Victoria Island may not necessarily be the same tariff that you will charge in Mushin or in Ijora or in Agege or in Ikorodu, for example, or in Shomolu. So we have a lot of investment opportunities. Yeah, I've mentioned the sources of raising funds for this environment. I mean, for this project. Apart from equity, you can raise preference shares. Preference shares is when people, when you bond that you raise for about 10 years, and you pay a coupon. The coupon you are paying is so little when it comes to bond. So that when it comes to issue of bond, you have another environment, which is the SEC. We have in this country a Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, which is very strong, which has been tested and proven to be invest can also in the capital to be invest can also in the capital in the water sector. It's partnership. The PPP, there are so many hybrids, so many options. We have the build, operate and transfer. We have the build, own and transfer. We have the management contract. You have the concession, develop, operate. So many hybrids, and I'm going to shortly explain some of these things within the limitation of our time. Now, in the management contract, it can be that you feel that Lagos Water, for example, that you study everything, they have the capacity to produce. That can be your area of interest. That distribution and marketing. By marketing, we mean sales. So it's possible for us to know. Maybe you look at it that they are unable to bring in money, but they are producing. You can come into them. Within this area, I want to enter into partnership with you. You produce water, distribute. I will be collecting money. How do you collect money? You want to be involved in metering. You want to be involved in metering. So your investment is going to be. Thank you, sir. This is too cool. Can you do that? Thank you. So, thank you very much. You can now say, I want to invest in smart metering. I'm going to provide water meters. Every household within this area, I will meter it. So, as you produce and distribute to them, they will be buying the water. Money will come to me. There will be a dedicated account. A dedicated account to you and the other partner that you will monitor so that nobody shortchanges the other. So that can be another investment arrangement. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So that can be an investment window that And that is what we call, in economics, what is it called now? There's something they call it not economy of scale, right? No, not scale. Economy of scale, abi? So where you have your strength, no, comparative advantage. Comparative advantage. Lagos Waters, like you are saying that comparing, they have advantage in water production. You as another operator, you have relative advantage in collection, in sales, in marketing. Then you invest in marketing. That is through what is it called now? Metering. And you have some guys who are in the commercial section and you get the money. Alternatively, it could be, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Alternatively, it could be that they are not very strong in yes, I know with Lagos Water you are very good in collecting money, but the problem, the reason why you don't have money is because you are unable to produce. Now we have comparative advantage in water production. Then the investor can come into that. It could be that the limitation to them, once the power is there, production becomes a foregone conclusion. Once the power is there, so he has to invest in there, and as he investing, is managing. Don't forget. When it comes to PPP, the government still owns the assets. We are just operating the assets, and then you are operating the asset to make money, and then again everybody will be smiling home at the end of the day. Legal areas, those are the legal people that will work on that. One of the reasons why people run away from that today, for example, the one that I'm out of, the first management contract that we have in the water production in Nigeria was the one we had with by a private operator, and all they do is to provide water, potable water, to people within the BGC estate and some other communities within that place. And again, there are some other estates too in Lagos where we have private service provider. Experience has shown in those areas where we have private service providers that they get water sufficiently. That is, by sufficiency is at least 100 liters of water per capita per day. And the water is reliable. Reliability means that at least 20 hours in a day they open the tap and they get water. Then quality, we have a Nigeria drinking standard for water that is of high quality. Then again, it's produced to ensure that it is affordable. Hello, when you are producing, it must be affordable. You can't just charge any rate, and that is why the regulator will come in. When in all this, regulators have to be involved. You don't feel that maybe I am a private service provider. I don't know regulation. No, there is an institution that regulates the industry, that ensures that you are paid, and that ensures that there is consumer protection. Tariff has to be justified. There is competition, and again, service standards are met. Then you can build an investor can decide to build a plant and operate like the one we said maybe Korodu. Go to your town now, rehabilitate the water scheme. You agree, you sign a contract with government. I'm going to operate this for 15 years or 25 years to recoup my investment, then I will go. Hello. So that's a build, own, operate, and transfer. You build it, you own it, you operate it. And then after you have recouped your investment, what do? You transfer and you go elsewhere. It could be for some number of years. Yeah.
Which particular are you getting to the question and answer?
Okay, I'm going there now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So that could be that is another model that we can use when we are attracting investment to the sector. Can we just take some questions and answer now? Any question, any answer? From Osusa. apply to SEC, and then to apply, to SEC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, thank you very much for your presentation.
Sure.
I was kind of interested when you said investing in the water sector, like the VGC you mentioned that they have water, they supply water to the community and the ones around there. And what actually piqued my interest was when you said that the price has to be very okay, that if not, this is where the regulatory body comes into the picture. So I was just quite concerned. I was curious that is it that the regulatory body is only about the price of the water? Are they concerned about the quality of this water as well? And if they are very concerned about the quality of this water, how effective is this? Because we have so many people producing water in Lagos. As I'm very certain, we have so many people producing water in Lagos. So I really want to know if the regulatory body are very keen on the quality of water as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. When it comes to service standard and water quality, first of all, you take sample of that water from the production end, and you test. It must meet with the standard. That is one. Then you go to the downstream. That is maybe to the house of a consumer. Take the same water and you test it. There might be some difference, and it must be very little. That difference might be maybe because of pipe corrosion, pipe bursts here and there. But the moment that is an area of interest to the regulator, that at the point of production, this water meets the national drinking standard for water in Nigeria. But at the point of consumption, the quality has gone down. Then they must investigate. So, thank you. So, at the point of that consumption and the quality has gone down, the regulator must be interested in two things. One, by what quantum, by what percentage of quality weakness do we have? Two, why do we have that difference or those differences in the quality? That must be of interest to the regulator. Otherwise, the operator will be fined. So, in other words, the regulator is not just only interested in tariff, it's also interested in quality. It's interested in reliability. It's interested in the environment. It's interested in the competitiveness. It's interested in the service that we are providing. Yes, sir. That might be the last question because of our time.
Well, thank you very much. I came in a bit and I've heard you talk about quality of water, investment, and all these things as it affects drinking water. Well, for some agencies that are into agriculture, aquaculture, irrigation, and the stuffs, what are the opportunities for them? Or are we foreclosing investment in such agency or circumstances?
Thank you very much. There is what we call integrated water resources management. That's IWRM. That's an agency. It's a parastatal under Federal Ministry of Water Resources. So one of those things that they are breaking down, the dam is not just only for water supply. It can be used for irrigation, but you have to know what is the capacity of the dam. What is the capacity? Some use for electricity generation, hydro now. Some are asking, okay, we also want to do IPP because of the rate at which our PACN has been failing. We want to be generating our power, and they want to build some turbine. So you will first of all be interested in the quantity of water that will have in that reservoir, which is the dam. How much of it can go by way of potable water, that is water supply? How much of it can go by way of building turbine for electricity? Then again, irrigation. So if for example the yield is not enough, then you may not be able to go for irrigation. You are extracting that water to meet some plants requirements. It's more especially one of the reasons, especially in the south, why we don't have food now, is because we depend on one seasonal cropping. Yeah, it's not perennial. So, but irrigation will make it perennial. In which case, you can grow your tomato 4 times in a year and all those things. So, it will depend. There will be some hydrology study for us to know that whether it can go for irrigation, it can go for potable water, it can go for electricity and so on. But it's integrated. Thank you. Any other one? Oh, I was told that we have to wrap it up now. I want to say thank you very much. This class is very active and participatory. Can we just give ourselves 3 bosa? Bosa! 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 Thank you.
Thank you. We need to run this a bit, really. I know we have a second session, so some conversations will still come up in the second session. So we don't have to stay too long here. And it's a panel, so there's even still more conversations. So rather than staying too long on one, we need to move to the second one. And this session will be moderated. Okay, there's a presentation first of all, and then we have the moderator. Our presenter in this session is Mrs. Ruth Ganga, and she'll be speaking on innovative financing, bridging the sector financing gap. And then after that, we have a panel. It's going to be very brief, but our panel moderator is Ikemefula. He's at the back there. So when it's time, he will just take over from you. All right, so let's put our hands together for the speaker, Mrs. Ruth. Please make it as brief as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will do my best. I hope you have the presentation, because I don't even see a place where I can put my laptop. There's no presentation? I have it here. Okay. It's very difficult for one organization to do everything, or two. So the Water Act 2002.
Please want to forward this should be this in case you have any backward to be. For example, you understand?
The forward is? The forward is?
So to be more easier for you than any other thing. So
good.
Can you see it now?
And then to go back?
Okay, then press this.
Good. Thank you. Good. Okay. Thank you. So, Water Act 2002 delineated the roles so that we have institutions that focus on specifics. So, WASREB regulates water services. Water Sector Trust Fund mobilizes additional funds for the sector, and the Water Sector Trust Fund, that is where I come from. We have waterworks development agencies which do regional cross-county projects at national level, big infrastructure. And we also have a regulator for water resources management, by the way. I think I had a comment earlier. So we have a regulator for water services and also a regulator for water resources and many others that I'm not going to go into. I was just trying to set the tone for what the Water Sector Trust Fund does. So having been formed in 2002, in 2016, the Water Act was revised to take in and one national government, so 47 county governments. And in that review of mandate, the fund became Water Sector Trust Fund. In 2002, we were Water Services Trust Fund. So with Water Sector Trust Fund, the mandate was expanded so that we can do more and pretty much almost everything in terms of financing the sector. So those are the core mandates of the fund. We can provide conditional and unconditional grants to counties. So it's interesting because even though we are a national government institution, in our mobilization, we can mobilize funds also for the counties, and we can finance counties for conditional or unconditional grants. And then we can finance pretty much everything from water resources management, water and sanitation services for rural, water and sanitation services for urban, and also research in the sector. So we can mobilize funds and finance those community level initiatives for all that, and also research. So when I talk about community level, I need to mention that the trust fund financing is very much geared towards last mile connectivity. We can do storage, we can do all that, but we are more really for last mile connectivity because it is a trust fund that was formed to especially mobilize additional financing to ensure that the underserved and marginalized are also connected. So if you wish, it is almost like affirmative action at the time. But now the mandate has grown and it's becoming more like the sector financing beyond just affirmative action. We remember all these other organizations, the water companies, the waterworks development agencies, the counties do have their own budgets for water and sanitation. And some of them can even be funded directly sometimes by partners. But the role of the trust fund is to literally go out and mobilize additional funds for the sector so that we cover the gaps. So these are, let me get closer. So these are the funding sources for the fund. I think this is probably important because I don't know yet whether there's a sector trust fund in Lagos or in Nigeria. So we get our funding from the government through treasury appropriations and parliamentary appropriations. We can get funding from development partners, but let me just clarify, even funding from development partners has to be appropriated by parliament and treasury, all right? So, but there is also that which is allocated to us directly by the government. Most of it tends to be for operations or counterpart funding to what we have received from development partners. One of the easiest ways to get funding from governments, for government officers, bear with me, I'm also in government. One of the easiest ways to get some more money from government is to actually mobilize funding from development partners and then put in co-funding inside there. Because the government tends to honor co-funding more than just directly allocating your budget line. We do get some funds from county governments, not directly, because their role is not to give us funding. But when we have funding and we are financing projects, we sign some kind of memorandums of understandings, and we request the counties to give co-funding as well to our projects. That way we get the county to budget a bit more for water, and also instead of doing this size of a project, now we can do this size of a project. And the county does not have to give us the funds. We just basically direct that they put the money into the project account. Mostly the projects will be done by county institutions. The water services providers in Kenya are actually now county institutions. So the money would go to a project account with the water company. We are supposed to have a water levy. It is well mentioned in the Water Act 2016, but levies are problematic, and it has taken this long to actually operationalize the water levy for the Water Sector Trust Fund. I know even my fellow Kenyan, our CEO for WASREB, is having his own issues getting some of the new levies that have been, thank you so much, that have been approved, but that is still an ongoing conversation. If the Water Sector Trust Fund was to get that levy, then we would get that much more funding than what we already have. The beauty of the getting any funding to the Water Sector Trust Fund is that it all goes back to the projects. Literally, when we do our development index calculations, we only spend about 11% of all the funding we get inside the fund. 89% always goes back to the projects. And so if there is an organization that is easy to put money into in Kenya, in the water sector, it would be the Water Sector Trust Fund. And our regulator is here, he would bear me witness that the water companies in Kenya, all of them have at least received one or two kind of fundings from the Sector Trust Fund. And many of them have developed their coverage based on that, because every time we do a call for proposal, if they put in a successful proposal, then we give them funding. I think I'm okay. I can still do it from here. I'm going backwards. Thank you. So those are the programs that we have at the fund. I mentioned we do finance water resources. We do finance water resources. We do finance water and sanitation services for both rural and urban. And then we have a program we call commercial financing. And I'm going to dwell quite a bit on that today, because that is the innovative financing that I would want to present to you today, because it is working and it has been confirmed to work in Kenya. We already mentioned the issues of research. So those are the partners we have had over time at the fund. At any given time, we have about 8 to 10 financing partners. Many of them are probably usual suspects for many of us, right? The World Bank is a very big financier to the fund, the KfW, the European Union, Danida, Sweden, Gates, IFAD, and of course our government has funded us from the beginning, so it's still quite a chunky. And then we have counties, like I mentioned, the co-funding, and other small financiers who give us funding for soft components. Small funding with big impact. You know, soft components, they make a big difference. Even what we are discussing here, issues of regulation, those are still soft components, but they affect everything you do in the hard components. So this is how the budgeting in Kenya generally is. These are the financing gaps we are having in the sector. And without going into too many details, the total funding that we require to meet universal access in the country is about 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings, translating to about 9.8 billion US dollars. Of that, about 1 trillion is really the direct project financing, and for that we have a gap of 652 billion Kenya shillings, or about 5 billion USD. You can see the gaps for water, 1.8 billion, for sanitation, 2.8. Somehow sanitation and sewerage are always left behind for some reason, and yet that is where our biggest problems come in terms of health. You can see the needs are bigger than water, but the budget allocated by the government so far is smaller than that of water, and therefore the gap is also much bigger. In terms of, rural water supply, the gap is a bit smaller, mostly because for rural water supply, the infrastructure tends to be smaller because people are not together, and so they are served at points where they are. And then in terms of sanitation, Kenya is quite ahead in terms of improved sanitation, not sewerage. I think the national sewerage is about 16%. Maybe if you add decentralized systems, another that it goes to 32%. The urban sewerage specifically can go to 32%. But the improved sanitation, which is really just a good sanitation facility, a good toilet with ventilation, goes to about 75%, but you know that is not what we are looking for. We are looking for safely managed sanitation at the end of the day. But in our efforts, we are looking for another 1 billion to deal with those places where we still have open defecation. That is about 0.01 billion USD. I think it's about 14 counties or so that still have issues with open defecation. Most of the others have already had what we call community-led total sanitation and solved the issues of ODF. Kenya has a document called the National Water and Sanitation Financing Plan. In this document, the government has outlined all the financial needs for water and sanitation and how we are going to get there. And that is what I just presented earlier, the gap. It is actually from this document that we call the NAWASIP. In the NAWASIP, we have also outlined where we see the funding sources coming from to meet the need. So in that document, about 313 billion is foreseen to come from PPPs. So if it's coming from PPPs, then you can imagine a big chunk of that money is from the private sector because the public sector is already covered in the government budget. Then we expect to get 395 billion from concessions, that is loans, and then 105 billion from government, both national and county, 82 billion from commercial financing. I think we need to remember this one, and about 77 billion from grants. You know, sometimes we think grants, we get a lot of grants, but actually if you did an analysis, it's usually a small section compared to the concession loans. So the role of the fund then was revamped in 2016 also to allow for possibilities of innovative financing, to mobilize and also to do innovative financing. So we have a mandate to mobilize funds but also manage the funds. So we mobilize and then we have procedures and rules for how to do calls for proposal and how to give out the funding to the various institutions so they can do water and sanitation projects. Then we also receive funds for on-lending. We can receive funds and on-lend. So the Sector Trust Fund has now a mandate not just to give grants, but we can also on-lend. And then establishing subsidiary funds. If we think that it will help for sustainable financing, we can establish subsidiary funds. Developing incentive programs for water resources management, climate change and disaster management, and also the water levy that I already mentioned earlier. So allow me just to present practically some of the things that we have done in terms of the commercial financing. So let me just say this. It's one thing to say we want to bring in commercial financing into the sector. However, how do we attract, of all people, commercial banks or private finance into the sector? How do you convince such profit-oriented organizations to put money in the water and sanitation sector? So we have to put in de-risking measures if that is going to happen. So we see our role in the trust fund in bringing in the 82 billion from commercial banks or commercial finance. We see our role as de-risking the financing from the banks, but also de-risking for the water companies so that we also don't land our own institutions into debt that they cannot get out of. So that is the role of the fund, providing comfort to both sides so that we can actually bring commercial financing into the sector. So in this model, we did a program some time back, and it is still ongoing, with funding received from our government, the World Bank, and KfW, where basically so the government receives the funding and gives it to the trust fund, and then the water company would go to a commercial bank and get a loan. And then before they do that, we will have agreed with them that these are the results that we are looking for from this project, because the project is still a trust fund project. So we set basically lay down the rules. We explain to them in the call for proposal. If they give us a concept that is acceptable, we tell them, now you can go look for funding from the banks. If they fund you, we will give you back a subsidy of between 50 and 60%. So this program was based on subsidies. It was not based on money that we would get back as trust fund, but 40% or 50% was from the commercial banks, and so the water companies had to pay back that to the commercial banks. So then we had an independent verification agent who would verify the results of the projects that we had financed, and if they were found to have done it the right way, then we would give them back the subsidy. Of course, in the project that is being funded, we required high level of bankability. A project to be funded by a commercial bank has to be bankable. It has to be bankable. We assess it from our level in terms of technicals, but also the financials. But the bank also has to assess it from its level for commercial bankability. And I have to say, in this case, the bank and the fund and the sector institutions work close together, because the banks may not always understand the water sector, so they require the technical support from the water sector. So then the water company would do the project, collect monthly bills, and repay the loan. And the single most factor for success in this program is that we made the WSPs open an escrow account in the lending bank, all right? So they would open an escrow account. In this escrow account, they would do a daily build-up of financing every day. A certain amount would go into that escrow account from the revenues collected, so that at the end of the month, it is supposed to match exactly what they are supposed to be repaying to the bank at the end of the month. So it was a no-brainer, not much thought pattern. Just make sure you sweep enough money to the escrow account, and at the end of the month, the loan almost pays itself, in a manner of speaking. Of course, the escrow account had to be interest-bearing, so that it is also attractive to the water companies. And because it was interest-bearing, the water companies even put more money than what was required in the escrow account. And many of them, at the end of repayment of the loans, had even more funding in the escrow than what they required. And because of that, many of the water companies paid for their loans ahead of tenor. You would think that in the water sector, water companies cannot pay back the loans, but these ones paid ahead of tenor, mostly because of the de-risking factors, but also making sure that the project is bankable, so that it has to show revenue generation. It is not just about a project. It has to show revenue generation. So if it's not a project that is prone to revenue generation, maybe that is not the component for which one should go for commercial financing. You should look for the one that has the revenue aspect, maybe connectivity to water or sewer, or maybe reuse of waste products if it is bankable enough. So the result of that, so we leveraged funds from the commercial banks of about 11.1 million US dollars, of which 6.5 million US was subsidy from the fund, and therefore you can see 609 million, which would never have come to the water sector any other way, came from the commercial banks. We did 10 projects, 8 of them water and 2 of them sanitation. And the banks, we had 4 banks participating in this program. You know, that may sound small, but let me tell you, when we started popularizing this program, no bank wanted to listen. It was very, very difficult. Even the water companies were a bit afraid of loans. By the time we were finishing this program, 4 banks were participating and asking us, when is the next one? And even now, because they know we are moving into something else, they are always in our office wanting to know where is the seed fund so we can come and finance the water companies. So if you start it, they will come. Proof of concept, yeah? You know, the governor said he wants results. He wants to see action. Do you know, if there's no action, people will just be looking and saying, this is theory. How does it work? But even if you just look for one small project and make it work, then they will run. You won't even have to go looking for them. They will run. Today, both the water companies and the banks keep asking us. Actually, now they bother me more than I bothered them at the time, because they want this money. There's a lot of money in water. You're right, sir. There's a lot of money in water, and people don't realize until they participate. One of the banks that participated, the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, they told us if only the other banks understood how much money is in this program. Because you see, people only look at the loan. They forget the revenue streams that are coming through the bank. They forget the transaction costs that are going through the banks. And you can't help them if they don't understand that. But those who have caught the vision, they know there is money in water. Yeah. So, and more importantly, we reached 763 people with water and sanitation in that one program alone of about just 1.4 billion Kenya shillings. And imagine how much more we can reach with more than that. So, like I said, most of the loans were between 20 million Kenya shillings to 499 million. I think you can do that calculation there. If I'm not wrong, Kenya shilling exchanges at about 11 or 10 naira there. And at least 7 of the loans, by the time we were doing this study, had been fully repaid. Some of the companies had taken 2 loans, like Embu, Murang'a South. Embu had repaid both of them, and Murang'a South had repaid one, was still faithfully repaying the other one. We have no cases of default in this program. None. I think that is important for Nigeria and Lagos to take note, because if we can do it, you can do it better. Right? Yes. So this is the new program that we are proposing to bring in commercial financing. The model is almost the same as the first one, with one big difference. The trust fund also gets back its part of the financing. It's to have their normal interest. But if you combine a 50% bank match to 50% trust fund, you're able to have you can have the interest rates to about 10%, which is quite affordable for the water companies. So the reason why we want our funding also to be refunded now is because we also cannot always be going to the partners and the government with a begging bowl. We want sustainable financing. So if it comes back, then it can revolve to other water companies without us having to ask for more from anybody, at least not as much as we used to ask before. With time, it can be a full-grown facility that sustains the sector. The Philippines has a very successful case on this. I know we have Mr. Perry from Manila who can confirm that. So, yeah, so this one, we would want it to come back, and also not just because we want it to revolve, but also because the water companies are now so mature. They were formed at the same time that the Water Sector Trust Fund was formed. They cannot keep just taking grants and grants. They need to start giving back. After all, they are the same institutions that are supposed to be giving the levy, okay? So if they can at least repay, and one of the things we have confirmed is that when we give them even a grant of 20 million Kenya shillings, they improve so much their revenue, so much, because every new project is new connectivity. Every connectivity is new revenue, but it never comes to us, not even a shilling. But we still have to go mobilize funds and give them again. So how about they pay back those who can, not all of them. You still have to remember equitable service delivery. Some of the WSPs are very bankable now. They don't need a grant. They can pay back what they get so that we can give them again and again and give those others who do not have. So this is the full model, which I don't want to go into, but that is the basics of it, yeah? That we match funds from the trust fund with funds from the commercial banks. We give the WSP at affordable rates. The WSP serves the customers, repays the bank, and repays also the Water Sector Trust Fund. Maybe what is definitely very important here is the technical assistance. You can never do away with technical assistance. Technical assistance for the water companies to develop bankable proposals. You would think it's easy. It's really not that easy. We need to capacitate them to build, to develop bankable projects, bankable designs, bankable proposals that can pass through the bank assessment and pass through the trust fund assessment. and then we fund them. They serve our customers because that is the end goal. The end goal is universal access. They repay, and we rotate that in the sector until we are serving everyone. Are we doing away with grants? No, not really. There are too many people to serve, right? Remember the rural, remember sanitation, remember even the WSPs who are far from being bankable. So we will always, for a long time to come, require the grants, but there is a segment of our service delivery that we can promote into commercial financing. Are we commercializing water with that? Not really, just the financing, right? I know there is also proposals for some private sector involvement or even service delivery in water. But I also know that in the end, what you cannot delegate is the responsibility. The responsibility will always be with government for service provision. So as I near the end, these are the measures of de-risking that we took so that we can make this not just attractive, but safe for the sector. We had credit guarantees. There are some organizations that offer banks credit guarantees so they can lend safely, like the USAID DCA guarantee. I think even Sweden has some of those. I don't know how active Sweden is here. I think it is. I've seen the CWE person and a few others. Even the World Bank has guarantees. The guarantee says if someone defaults on a loan, the guarantee can refund up to 50% of the default to the bank. And then the escrow account I talked about. Do not do commercial financing if you can help it without an escrow account. It is the deal breaker. I mean, it is the one thing here that makes the deal workable. Exactly. And then the use of contractors. In Kenya, in the public sector, we have insisted that the institutions use contractors because it eliminates procurement fraud, it eliminates corruption, but also it ensures that you get experts to do the work. And then the contractors, they come with a certain capacity, financial and technical, and they can begin to do the project so that we pay them back through interim payment certificates. You don't pay them up front, you pay them against interim payment certificates. So it's a kind of performance-based as well in terms of performance. And then what did I want to say? And also because it is to the contractors, although the funding belongs to the WSP, we only give to the WSP what they require for their own internal use, soft components, all those contingencies. But the project financing, when the time comes, the loan goes directly to the contractor against the IPC. Again, you eliminate the opportunity that the WSP is going to look at all this money and say, why do I want to pay the contractor when I can use it for something else, right? This is for loans. Loans, you really have to ring fence. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem with our institutions. I'm almost done. Thank you. And then the involvement of government, in this case, the Water Sector Trust Fund and others, and WASREB, our regulator, that involvement also gives comfort to the borrowers and to the lenders because they know they can fall back on someone in case of something. Even we have comfort when we sign MOUs with counties. If we have a problem with an institution, we can talk to the county government to sort out. Finally, the tariff adjustments. This has been discussed a lot. So our regulator works with the water companies. If they need to adjust their tariff in order to repay a loan, Dr. Itunga here will help them. Literally, because they are the regulator for the sector and they regularize the tariffs. And then, of course, the county government approval. We will not finance any water company without the approval of the county government. The county government has to know. The CEC for water has to know, and they actually sign against the document. So I think I am nearly done. So sanitation value chain, I'm not going to go into that. I think he talked about issues of use and reuse. Sorry. Issues of, now why is it failing me when I'm almost done? There you go. Issues of use and reuse of waste products is a revenue source. So this is all about innovative financing. This is something that we are seeing many of our decentralized treatment facilities generating, biogas, fertilizers, and water for irrigation. Subsidized household sanitation, where we encourage the households to build good, clean toilets, and then we subsidize them. But the issue of reuse comes again at the end use, so by the utility. And then, of course, there is also money in, I know he was talking about where money is in water. There's money in exhausting for those who use septic tanks, for those who use exhaustible toilets. So there's a lot of ways that you can bring in the private sector also in issues of sanitation. And those who are really advanced can make a lot of money out of reuse of waste products. And then other innovative financing models. I don't know how far you are with carbon trading. In Kenya, a lot of organizations, especially in the private sector and the NGOs, are really kind of leveraging on carbon trading. Our very own president is working very hard to get this climate finance. He's getting us to plant 15 billion trees, and we are doing that every so often, literally. And we are all targeting the climate finance. This is an area we can focus on, not just the carbon trading, but also climate finance. There are many organizations that offer climate financing, private sector collaboration. Even if you don't get direct funding from the private sector, you can leverage their expertise, you can leverage their systems, you can think about performance-based contracts with them, and you can co-finance projects. Again, there are many organizations who even have CSR and foundations here. If you do a project, you can try and get them to put some more money there. Even if they don't give you money directly, it's okay. If they're serving the people of Lagos, they're also giving you funding. I talked about co-funding. This can be from public or private institutions, communities, and even households, especially in sanitation. Communities can help put some money to their own sanitation facilities. And communities have also given a lot of money to our projects. If we are financing rural programs, we actually require 10% contribution from the communities, whether it is in kind or in cash. It is the only way they are going to have ownership of those projects and feel involved so that they can take care of them. And then our regulator talked about performance improvement. One of the biggest revenue earners for the sector is when we are going to get rid of wastages in our systems and increase the revenue. In Kenya right now, the non-revenue water, he produced the impact report last week. Was it last week? The non-revenue water is now 43%. But for some companies which are excellent, like Nyeri Water, which is the first best company in sub-Saharan Africa, and among the best in the world actually, non-revenue water is only 17%. And that is the one company which is almost always bankable when it comes to commercial financing, because they have gotten their performance right. Non-revenue water, even the word tells you, if we reduce non-revenue, then we have more revenue. So performance improvement is also going to put more money into the pockets of the water sector. So maybe before I give my moderator a heart attack, I am like done. Just to say that the Water Sector Trust Fund is a recipient of 2 UN performance awards, both of them for some of our innovative programs. The one I just talked about in 2021 was the commercial financing one, output-based aid, for enabling public sanitations to perform, public institutions to perform on their SDGs, and the other one was on the decentralized sanitation, and the one where we were also going through the whole sanitation value chain. We hope to get a third one, maybe in water resources management, but I am sure it is going to come soon. So just some pictorials. All these are projects that we have funded through the resort-based financing, through the commercial financing. Some are water, solar storage, pumping, water treatment, sewer pumps, sewer ponds. These are decentralized treatment facility. The beauty of DTFs, as you know, I'm pretty sure all Africans know, they occupy so much less space than the traditional sewer. And they can serve a community in their area, even if they do not spread across the whole of the town. So those are just some of the structures, the treatment, the aerobic and anaerobic reactors, the constructed wetlands, the drying beds, and somebody there. And even public sanitation facilities. By the way, some of the projects that are producing biogas in the projects we have funded are actually public sanitation facilities. So instead of doing the septic, they do the biodigest, exactly. And some of them are using that not just for lighting, but even for cooking, because they are so clean that they can actually have kitchens and little restaurants in there. Okay, so those are some of the sanitation facilities that we fund. So I'm done. I know I've taken a bit of time, but I figured you brought me all the way. I should at least leave something behind. So thank you very much. And to my moderator, I'm done. Thank you. Yes, I think the moderator will, yeah, the moderator. Yeah. Oh, okay, all right, yes.
Thank you very much, Kenya model. I'm particularly interested on the commercial and the OBA. The OBA, there are, in Nigeria, we have about 6 states now, 7 who are doing what is close to OBA. That is output-based aids. They call it a program for results here. So you spend your money to achieve a goal. Maybe some outputs. Then we have independent verification agents who will come to verify the number of the impact you have made, and on that basis you are incentivized. That's a more like that the OBA. But principally the commercial, I'm interested in this. What they finance, what the commercial bank finances is the operations. Yeah, what I mean by operations now, because if commercial bank finances capital construction, it might be difficult to get that money immediately. But let's say the commercial bank has financed your operations and maintenance, chemical, electricity, staff costs, or your running costs. Then and again from your revenue, like you said, a percentage is taken from your revenue. There is an escrow account where they sweep a percentage of your daily revenue into that escrow account, and again at the end of the month, you pay what is due for that month, and then again your liability to the commercial bank reduces by that quantum. To me, with that, there is no problem. But when it comes to financing capital, and I'm surprised that you said even with that there is no default. That is amazing. It's amazing because we know that. What is the tenor of the loan, of the facility, for example? The tenor of the facility. No, tenor. How many years? 1 year. Yeah. Repayment. Oh, okay, that is good. But if it is within 1 year, it will be a problem. Yes. Yeah, there will be some moratorium. But is it sovereign guaranteed or just an arrangement between the water company and the commercial bank? Government is not involved. Okay. Oh, okay, fine. Thank you very much.
But I think for your operations, there are organizations which are actually doing that with some water companies now, where like if they help them reduce non-revenue water, so then they can repay them using some of those savings. Yeah, but we do also, for us it's not focused on operations as it is focused on a complete project with infrastructure that goes all the way even into some of the soft components, like maybe smart metering and systems, but importantly, it has to tie to a revenue-generating activity. And for us, the purpose is that they increase connections, because we are supposed to serve the underserved. So if they increase connections, then they get more revenue. Yeah, but the other one is also working through other ways. Yeah. Yes. And then we come to you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I have a couple of questions. I'll try to put them together, and then these companies, private sector players, are they SMEs? And if that's the case, who was responsible for building this pipeline of bankable projects? Did you have to work to ensure that, you know, we actually create a pipeline for bankable projects? Because if we left the FIs to source these by themselves, we could have a, you know, a delay in that regard in finding actual bankable projects. And is that where the technical assistance came in to support these WSPs? Another question I have is around the collection model. Just listening to some of the other sessions we had earlier, we do see that some of the public corporations do struggle with collections. What kind of structure or model was put in place for these WSPs to ensure they're able to actually collect revenue? Because just same experience we have in our power sector is one thing to build a community, is another thing to actually ensure collections are coming in, right? Then I have another question around the rural versus urban areas. So some of these WSPs, were there any of these 8 that actually ran their program in a rural community and they were also able to meet up with paying back their loan? How did this happen? Because, you know, for the rural areas, we find that it's, you know, a bigger struggle for them to pay for services, especially when you mentioned the issue of raising tariffs. Was there any pushback from rural communities when you raise tariff to actually ensure they can, you know, meet up with the cost of services provided to them? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So for starters, in Kenya, the water companies, even though they are registered as limited companies, they are parastatals of the county. So they are kind of like still government, right? But they are, because they are registered as limited companies, they can operate as a company. And I think our regulator can add to that at some point. The bankable project, we put money into technical assistance to actually build the pipeline even before they can go to the banks. Because we are the owners of the program, it's not bank initiated, it is initiated by us. So we have the modalities of the program, the outcomes of the program. We announce to the water companies, we have this program, and we explain to them what is expected. We talk to the banks, we tell them we have this program, we explain what is expected. Then we tell the companies, those who are interested, you can apply for technical assistance support. Any of them can apply for technical assistance support. Then they are helped to build a bankable project. Then they can go to the banks. It's up to them. They are companies. They are public companies. They are the ones to procure the bank. It is up to them. It is in Kenyan laws, they have to do the procurement. If they succeed in negotiating with a bank that is willing to fund them, then we come in. You cannot force them to get a loan. Neither can you force the bank to loan into a company. So they have to have their own negotiations. If they accept, then we can now pick it up from there, help them. We oversight the project because it's still our program, and we are going to answer back to our financials, and we want results. And then when the time comes and the results are verified, then we can pay them the subsidy. Some of our WSPs serve, they are licensed. They have a kind of an, how do I put this, peri-urban setup, but they also serve rural. Actually, some of the WSPs are rural WSPs. But if they are a WSP, it means they are licensed. If they are licensed by Dr. Itunga, then it means that they can actually go ahead and, if they are bankable, they can get a loan from the bank, because it means they already have a working tariff and they're able to collect funding. As for pushback, when it comes to raising tariffs, I think those are also experiences we have. Some will find it easier than others because it can also be a political issue. Dr. Ituga, I don't know whether you have anything to add on the nature of the water companies and also the issue of the tariffs.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you so much for that question. Yeah, the structure of the water companies, as I did mention yesterday, they are companies remitted by shares. And at the moment they are remitted by shares, they take their own personal character. They are legal persons and therefore can borrow, they can sue, they can be sued. Although the difference is all the shares of these companies are owned by the county government, or what you call here the states. Yeah, 100% owned by governments. So they have that that autonomy. The autonomy is what is important. They have their full board of directors, though wholly owned by the county governments. On tariffs, we normally take a consultative approach. After we evaluate the tariffs for those companies, which some are, as she has said, they are those who serve both urban and rural areas. And in all cases, the application for tariff review originates from the WSP or the water company. And once it comes to the regulator, we analyze it, we discuss it with the company, and we go to the public through what we call public participation. And once it is agreed, then the tariff is approved. But of course, there will be one or two people making noise. You can never get 100% consensus. So we still convince them to on board. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I'm going to hand over to the moderator because some people want to leave on their flights. Maybe, moderator, you can note a burning question that was from this gentleman here. You see him? Yeah, right here. You can note that burning question. Yeah, and maybe before I just hand over the mic, just to say that for collection of revenue, it's all about the systems. So in Kenya, many of them have moved into smart meters and digital billing, especially through M-Pesa, the famous, yeah? So you correct your systems and you collect more funding. Thank you. I'm heading over now because I want to be safe. But you can be asking your question. When he comes, he will.
I am the General Manager of Delta State Urban Water Corporation. My name is Engineer Oko. My concern is that most of the utilities in Nigeria, we are basically state-run utilities, 98% of it, and no utility. So let me go and borrow money from commercial bank because of the collateral that is involved. And when you have a decaying infrastructure, most of the utilities have what's called decay infrastructure. Some pipelines were laid more than 50 years ago. Some cases, some of these pipelines, even the operators of the utility now don't even know where those pipelines are because of age development concerns over the years. The truth of the matter is that my suggestion is private public partnership. That is the only way. And moreover, you see that the commercial banks will not risk borrowing money to utilities and maybe government-sponsored utilities because of issues I just explained. And I remember there was a time I had interface with a global fund. We presented what they said is that they need private partnership. That what they can is based in global fund is based in Netherlands. I know when we discuss with them. But the truth of the matter is that this model, I don't think will be able to work effectively in Nigeria. If it's possible, but it therefore means that it is going to be by PPP. Yes, that is the PPP model. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Oko. Can we have the panelists, come up here? Mrs. Oluwatoyin Adebuji Onikoyi. Okay, please have your seat. Yes, welcome her with a round of applause. And then we have Patrick Ene. Do we have Patrick Ene here? Okay, please come up stage. A round of applause for him. Mr. Kunle Adeleke. And Engineer Dr. Adedeji Ashiru. You're welcome, and sorry, this particular session has taken a little bit longer than expected. It's just that after the presenter, made her presentations, I, thought it wise to allow, some questions to come from the audience, which is also very important. Some of those questions we have also learned from them. And then when she said, she came all the way because her presentation was actually lengthy but loaded. Me too, I learned so much from that presentation, as no man is a repository of all knowledge, So we are still on the theme of the conference, which is, bringing financing into the water sector. And this session is talking about innovative financing. As the name implies, we are looking at thinking out of the box. What are we doing now? What can we do better? If things are not working the way we want them to work, then it means there's something we are probably not doing. And that's why we have these distinguished members of the panel who are very experienced, and they will be sharing their thoughts with us. We don't have the luxury of time anymore. So the question, they were supposed to have like three questions, but I've been asked to limit it to one. So anyone we ask you, take some time to do justice to it, and then we see how we can, wrap up, because a lot of people also have flights to catch today. Let me start with Tunde Akindele. What role do commercial banks play in, financing water and sanitation projects? Of course, from the presentation, it's very clear. They have, a blend of, so many things, like the commercial banks are there, they have the trust fund, they have. So for us here, we're looking at, it's been the government financing the water sector. Maybe the development partners are there, but when it comes to financing from the, commercial banks, we've not really had it. I recall when she said some of them are even bringing feedbacks to say if only other banks knew, what opportunities and things like that. So, Mr. Tunde Akindele, what role do you think commercial banks can play in the Nigerian context? Kunle Adeleke. Who's Kunle Adeleke? Okay. Sorry for that mix-up.
It would have been easy for me to step in if either of the names were correct, so to avoid impersonation. Good morning. Thank you so much. Kunle Adeleke is my name. Now, commercial banking from, I think, let's take it from the very granular. The commercial banks can help from the processes of data gathering, data aggregation, preparing the algorithms, and advising, and even helping agencies of government to process based on the existing competencies that we already have in our retail banking structures. That is for the first part. And then moving forward, the collection platforms. Today, Lagos State is the best among all the subnationals in the area of the revenue collection. You can be at home on Sunday and be paying revenues. So commercial bank can really help in this area as we are planning all the prepaid metering and the rest of it. Right now, everybody pays their NEPA bills and everything from home. Now, to move further, the commercial bank can help to bring partners together. Water infrastructures could be very expensive, and be capital intensive. And bearing in mind that most of the time when we are planning the areas where we live our estates, thought was not brought into the idea of will commercial water come into this place. So that's why on our roads, many occasions you see a road newly built and you see some people cutting it again and covering it up again. You know, because there are policy overlaps, no central planning. So most of the time when opportunities now come that the size of the financing to be done may be bigger than what one bank can do. Commercial banks, a lead bank can come together, can pull others together, create a syndication opportunity for others to come in and part share in the financing of the project. I must add that, you know, part of the problem that we usually have in extending these facilities is that Nigeria has, you know, among the major subnationals in Nigeria, I will say for Lagos State is the one that has the best potential. When we talk about the big C character, Lagos State picks are renters. You will not hear about a default. Lagos State will not take your loan, come back a few months after, ask for a waiver and sue you and take you to his own court. We have subnationals that they will take your loan, 6 months down the line, they spend the money, they'll come back. And they will ask for a new interest rate and ask for some other things. And when you say no, the governor will sue you to his own court. You know, when the governor sues you, you already lost the battle. So a lot of the times we look at, okay, do we really have a proper peaceful succession? There is a state in Nigeria now that a governor comes, he removes a structure, he pulls down a structure, another one comes, he builds it again. So even when we have a democracy that appears steady, it is important that you know the pattern of this state. Oh, this is an APC state. An APC governor will not come back and override what an APC governor has done. But if you are moving from APC, PDP to ABGA, whatever, banks will be circumspect. We want to be sure. So the character, the financial character of the state or of the subnational as it may be, it's very important. There are so many projects that we have outside of Lagos that we don't touch. We do a lot of things for Lagos. Commercial banks in Lagos, we, you know, and you know the beauty of it is that if this is Bank A and I'm Bank B, the moment you do something to this Bank A, I use my tongue to count my teeth. When you approach me, I already know what you did to me, so I keep off. So those are the issues around that. If I have the opportunity, maybe, you know, I don't know how much time I have. I don't know if I'm eating above my time now. So, you know, the opportunities are quite wide, but the peculiarity of the obligor, how the state is being run, the character we have. For example, in Lagos, the debt management office is the best. Sorry. So if you have a properly functioning cerebral, properly manned and managed debt management office, you know that as at the time you are negotiating a deal with the government and the questions that the DMO is asking you, you already know that, okay, these people, they have clear plan. By the end of the quarter, they want to pick your renter. You look at the cash flow, you know, you look at the sustainability, you look at, okay, the plans that the state have, this program can run, and they have the liquidity that will come, that will pick the renters into the future of the project. When all such are done, commercial banks, even with our inherent limitation now in capital adequacy that we may have, we can syndicate, we can leverage on one another, we can pull resources together, and there's a lot we can do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that excellent response. We have seen that it's doable. You know, many a times we feel, just like Ruth said, you never know if it will work except you try. Most of the time, it's just in our heads that our commercial banks cannot give us money. But have we actually tried? So he's telling us now that it's very possible, it's doable. You know, they can give us money, you know, to improve our water and sanitation systems. Okay, the next question goes to Mr. Patrick Ene. Mr. Patrick Ene, the question, Patrick Ene? Okay. Yeah, so what are those key considerations, you know, for banks when evaluating wash projects for financing? Assuming you are interested, or we come up with a project or a program, and we get you involved, what are the things you would be looking forward to seeing? You know, these will be your condition precedent for considering whether the program or project is doable or not.
All right. Thank you, and I want to thank the audience for the patience we have all exercised since morning, staying through to listen to presenters, listen to discussion panels. We will definitely take out one or two things from these engagements. So for us as a commercial bank, I work in Stanbic IBTC. We are a long partner of Lagos State. We have partnered with Lagos State over and over projects, and I can tell you that Lagos State is a good partner. We are willing to put more balance sheets on the table to finance projects in Lagos State because we have seen those projects from the beginning to financial closure. We go into any project, there are things we look at. One is the enabling environment.
Let's take note, please.
Yeah, which the state governor said yesterday. There's a regulation for WASH projects in Lagos State. There is a regulator appointed to oversee this sector. These are two critical things that the banks will want to look at. Then the next thing is actually the investor, the obligor. When we come to the obligor level, we want to see the cash flow of this project, how bankable this project is. That is one. We also want to see the character of this obligor. What I mean the character now is, who is this person? How has he fared over time? Money that was granted to this business, how have they handled it? So in terms of Lagos State, they have been a good obligor. So what we're going to do next is we look at the project itself. Can we see from the beginning to the end the capacity of the obligor to execute this project? Where are they going to get the equipment? What are the things that they require in terms of equipment, timelines, all the technical assistance, everything that they require to, from the beginning to the end, are they all in place? If we tick that box, then what we do again is that we sit down with these people and we look at the projected cash flow and see how we are going to amortize the repayment of the loan. Is this something, depending on the project, are we going to structure it so that at the beginning they pay small amount of money at the beginning of the project? As the project is unraveling, the cash flow is picking up. So we structure it in such a way that the project can actually see itself from the beginning to the end. Then we have the collateral. That's where the government comes in. We have had discussions around credit enhancement. We know that some of these obligors or developers may not have the required collateral to give to the commercial banks. So that's where we go to the state government and say, please put on your guarantee. Don't put money on the table. Just put your guarantee and say, this loan, we are putting 50% of the guarantee. In terms anything goes bad, we will do that. We have also partnered with some credit guarantee agencies. There are agencies in the country today, they say, if you lend to this sector, we are going to guarantee them to up to 40%. What this also does is they also help to bring down the cost of this project, because the risk, as the guarantees are coming into the bucket, the risks are going down. And it makes it very comfortable for everybody to participate. And I want to say it clear here that WASH project for Lagos State is doable. The commercial banks, we can work with the state government, put the correct structure in place. We have done it for the power. We did it for telecommunication. We did it for internet providers. We can do it for water projects and sanitation. So it is doable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that excellent response. Just like when we had one session, I said it that when you line up for power sector, you see a very long line of, investors and banks and willing to put money in the power sector, just want to associate themselves with putting money in water. But again, it's a gold mine. But I don't think there's anybody here who didn't use water before, leaving their houses this morning. So, and water is life. But something is also very, critical that struck me when she was making the presentation. So she talked about, even Dr. Itunga also now reiterated, the corporate form of our water companies. What we have here, they are largely corporations, registered or created by statutes, by laws of the state. So when it comes to equity financing, as a bank, you're not going to be getting shares from Lagos Water, for example, because it's a corporation established by law. So I wanted you to make some comments on, how you could navigate that, because some investors will come. There's no shares, to be exchanged, and shares registration with the company registry is one of the, surest ways you can, guarantee or secure your interest in an investment. So the legal structure in our own jurisprudence here is that we have all our water utilities, with the exception of maybe Cross River State and one or two other states. Some are actually now migrating from that corporation, kind of a setup to now limited liability companies, where they now have, of course, under the law, they have their corporate image. They can sue, they can be sued, they can borrow and things like that. But there's no equity transfer. Would that impact or affect negatively if, a project is brought forward and you're looking at it for financing? Because again, if you do some risk assessments, maybe what you'll be signing with the government is just agreement, MOUs, and then we see sometimes that the government will just wake up from the left side and say, we terminate this MOU. Yeah. So if you don't have equities or shares registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, how do you now, feel secure putting your money in the water projects?
Okay, thank you for that. In my last comment, I said the banks did this for power sector. They did it for telecommunication. They did it for internet providers. Really, government do not have business funding this project, in my own perspective. They should bring in private sectors. Really, the dynamics will change. The dynamics will change. The role of government is in place. Concession this business, like Lagos State, they have so many districts. Put locations under buckets, concession it to a business, and the business will go out and bring in the required funds to set up water infrastructure and distribute water. And the private sector, they have tight structures, and the money will come back. And before you know it, government should really stop budgeting for water infrastructure. What they need to do is now they have to group it again into, there are low-income people, their tariff would be extremely very low, or government can pay for them. Then they graduate the tariffs. It's done in the healthcare, even in the private sectors. There are some hospitals that provide subsidy for smaller hospitals. And these are the kind of things that is led by private sector. It is very doable. Let all of us sit down. The banks are willing. We put a proper structure in place, and we see it from the beginning, from conception to financial close, and even execution, and these things will work. So we won't lend money to government to provide water. And provide the required funding.
Okay, so over to you, Engineer Dr. Adedeji. Your question is this: how can engineering innovations contribute to reducing the cost of wash projects? I say this because the technological options we adopt, also has a way of making service delivery either cost-effective or too expensive. We have some states now that are constructing. How can engineering innovations contribute to reducing the cost of wash projects? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I want to first of all thank the presenter. You did a great job. As a matter of fact, that presentation is not about financial, it's about engineering. Now, there's no project can be
Financial
bankable.
engineering.
It's financial engineering, yes. You cannot have any bankable project without having good engineering design. Now, the bedrock, the foundation for any bankable project is the engineering. Therefore, I'm happy, so excited that I'm seated here today as an engineer. You know, your project cannot move to the next stage unless it is bankable, and that depends on the engineering. The conceptual design that probably must have been done is a success. We need to have efficient and effective water treatment technology. It is very important. Both now we have wind, we have solar, and we have hydro as well. Therefore, I mean, this is a cheaper form of energy than using the fossil fuel, and of course that also contributes. It also contributes to sustainability as well. You know, reduce the carbon footprint. You know, that quite a lot. Therefore, for engineer, for us, the cost, time, and resources is very important when we are doing engineering design. We look at what time are you putting in, what kind of resources are we putting in. For the watch, I think also we need to think of the material to use, the kind of chemical to also deploy as well. We have to also think about the local content, promoting the local content. There are quite a lot of material that probably comes from abroad, you know, which make the project expensive. There are material that can be utilized locally to reduce the cost, and that would make the project bankable. You also mentioned something around centralizing the system. You know, there is no point, because when you have a huge, what happens is this, it makes the maintenance very expensive. You know, in engineering, you know, we start from the head, you know, because you have to think of how can we sustain the system. And one of the major things is to be able to maintain the system. And that's why today, in Nigeria, you have refineries which are not functioning again, because the cost of maintenance is high, is huge, simply because a value engineering was not done. You need to do a value engineering, centralize the system, and that way it is easy to maintain the facility. Same also with the sanitation as well. If you look at it, you can have, Mr. Governor mentioned it yesterday, that they're trying to launch about 115 sanitary to build toilets. You know, that's decentralizing it. You know, you have it, localized in different community, and you can reuse the waste for biogas. Those are the things engineering bring on the table. Thank you.
Excellent response. And we take the final question. It goes to Mrs. Oluwatoyin, the Chairman of the Service Commission, Lagos State. Madam, you know, we have some agencies of government, like, you know, the Financial, Reporting Council of Nigeria and things like that. They have, codes and standards for corporate governance. The accountability, they are very, very crucial and critical. So sometimes when we talk about financing, and then, not that money doesn't flow. A lot of times money comes, but we don't know how these monies are expended. So, audit and financial oversight, currency and accountability of WASH financing. And we also want to know what the Lagos State government is, doing, how the government is holding, agencies accountable when it comes to, funding. Because sometimes even funds come in from development partners, and sometimes they don't end up where they're supposed to end up. If there is a gap as far as audit is concerned, these are some of the things we are bound to witness. And you see, I'm flanked on both sides by our bankers, and they're telling us these are the things, the sine qua non, the things, conditions precedent, things we must put in place before these finances can roll in. So transparency and accountability, they're very important. They have told us some governors just wake up, they undress one sector to dress another. This is what goes on in our system. So please tell us, how can audits and financial oversight enhance transparency and accountability of watch financing? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, the moderator. Good afternoon, my people. Lagos State government has many legal documents. There is the Public Financial Management Act of 2011. Even the Water Regulatory Commission has a law that sets it up. The budget of every year is a legal document that the state operates to allocate funds to the various agencies of government. The PFM law or PFM Act states the responsibilities of agencies. It states the processes and procedures that should be met before transactions are made and concluded. And the regulatory act of the law of the commission also makes it an independent body that can act on behalf of government. Like they said, can be sued. But I know that no agency can independently go to anything without government intervention. Like the debt management office will be involved when a loan is to be taken and so on. Then the budget of the year would have allocated certain sums to the agency or the commission and various departments, ministries and other agencies. And in Lagos State, the audit and financial oversight ensures transparency and accountability, because there is effective monitoring of these budgets. Even the Water Regulatory Commission budget I know also has a dedicated account, and everything that goes into Lagos State accounts are automated. You have to pay through codes to banks. We do not accept cash payments in Lagos State again. So everything goes through into the book and trail these transactions. So auditors monitor to see that all these monies come in. These monies are accounted for. The budgets are reviewed quarterly. They are reviewed and actual collections are compared to. We even have monthly meetings of budget sessions, the budget officers with revenue collecting units, so that those units can confirm that truly this is how much they have made. And these meetings are even supervised by the governor's office. And so the auditors in Lagos State have freedom to do their work, because there is an audit and there's another member of the commission in the group here. So that the audit law and the commissions were made for auditors to have independence, so that they can audit without fear or favor, so that the political influence or any influence will be reduced, and their audit reports go to the house. It is not domiciled under any ministry or under any department. So the auditors, to that extent, are free to do their jobs, and they ensure that reports are generated regularly. And you know, even the stakeholders meetings regularly for different groups of people, and the people express what they want. At the inception of the budget, they would have held community town hall meetings and ask the various sectors what they need in the budget, and these are put in on ground. Even the budget commissioner makes sure that there is no misclassification or misappropriation of the funds of the budget. The codes stated where you want to take the money, and it must relate to that. We have a budget monitor that has stated all the things that can come under any votes. So you do not go outside the scope of budgetary allowances. The provisions of the law the processes and procedures are audited. If a process has to go this way, it has been stated in the PFM law, it must be followed to the core. And auditors can issue queries, and the queries must be responded to. There are sanctions in our laws. There are sanctions for auditors who even go outside their scope to do anything untoward. And there are sanctions for staff or officials of government who refuse to answer audit queries or do things that are outside laid down rules and regulations. You can see that even this WASH project or program or whatever that we are holding, that Lagos State already has a document, a policy that is to be followed. So Lagos State is very proactive. When they think things, they already have laws and whatever that would guide such things. And we have freedom to go around these things. When projects are in operation, the auditors go there to audit. And they don't just stop at the conclusion of the projects. They have that right to continue to monitor. Because we don't want a situation where a project like the ones we have in water, you won't expect it to just be for a short term. We expect a project to last 30 years. In 2 years, it is dilapidated. That is not a type of project we should have in this type of sector. If not, it wouldn't have served its purpose. So we build capacity, we train our auditors, we encourage them, we give them that independence, that freedom. Because it is when you build the trust of the people that the people can key into government projects. That is when you take the bills to them and they are ready to pay. If water is running everywhere now, potable water, and everybody has access to water, you know, it will be very easy to pay for water. In those days, I used to hear our old women say they pay water bills. This day, nobody is paying water bills again. People have boreholes and boreholes and wells that are not well treated, and this is not good for the state. So Lagos State is passionate about having potable water to go around everybody. So they are even building capacity, and I'm sure it is in terms of infrastructure as well. The bankers have told us what they want. Even through these sessions that we have had that before you can have access to capital funding, or any fund or any type of funding, you have to have carried your projects to a certain level before they now come in to help you at the developmental level. And I think that is what Lagos State is now doing. The commission has some funds committed, so it may not be enough for now, but I'm sure nobody will touch it. Lagos State operates dedicated accounts for certain projects that they want to operate. When the monies get to that level that can do such things, they start small, and they now bring in PPP. We have a PPP office in Lagos State, and I'm sure they would continue to use them effectively. And since the banks are ready to liaise and collaborate with PPPs, I'm sure we do not have problems in Lagos State. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, ma'am, for that elaborate response. It looks like we should now roll out the drums. The banks are ready to bring in the money. The stage is set. The escrow account you alluded to, it looks like you have something like that already, where you keep monies, and then when it gets to a certain level, you have dedicated accounts. Yeah. So these are some of the fears. I hope some of the fears we have regarding the commercial banks funding water and sanitation projects, those fears have been allayed. We have other states here. I hope what you have heard from this session, you can also now go back and advise the policymakers and the government that these are, the things that Lagos states have, put in place, and it looks like the money will start dropping in Lagos, so that they can quickly now rejig your own systems and then, ready your sector for private sector financing. So we are already done, but I will give the panelists opportunity, because they are loaded. They have so much to tell us. They should just give us, parting comments, and then we close the session. So I'll start with you.
would like to say is that for the investors, for the bankers, ensure that you have a detailed engineering document, because that is what, also ensure you engage consultants, in the field of engineering to be able to review those documents when they come for a project. That's the only way you can know that project is bankable. Not to just engage a consultant that probably is a financial consultant just looking at the numbers. You have to look beyond the numbers. That's why it's important to engage an engineering consultant. Thank you.
Thank you. I quickly want to, stress on two major items, and I want to speak to technology. A lot of the banks that we see around, we have investments into partnerships technology, into a lot of revenue collection technologies. If you travel by the Lagos Blue buses that you go about, you click a card when you are getting into board, 200 naira, 300 naira, or 500 naira from your money. The other side that we do at our end, which my bank and the technical partner does, is that it determines how much goes to the owner of the vehicle, how much goes to whoever. At 12 noon, system aggregates it, credits the accounts of the owners of the buses. At 12 midnight, aggregates whatever has been done in 12 hours, credit the accounts. Puts a commercial bus on the road, wants to buy fuel, wants to change tire, wants to pay driver. If you don't pay driver yesterday, they won't come they won't come tomorrow. So technology takes away all the human frailties. We can also do the same. You see some vehicles in town, that GAC car, light blue and deep blue. My bank financed the first, I think, 2,000 units. And today, Lagos State has fully paid 100%. The dustbin that we use in our homes, the dustbin that they are deploying to the houses that we are doing whatever, I followed the course. I saw as it was produced. Inside those dustbins, there are chips that can give them, nobody can steal the dustbin. Those new ones are being supplied, courtesy of the engineering opportunities. If somebody sees it from their office, they punch a card and they know that the dustbin is at so place and time. So and government and individual MDAs cannot be putting money into acquiring all these infrastructures. So leaning on the bank and leveraging on the opportunities that we have, acquisitions that we have made, investments that we have made, makes a lot of these things quite easy to do. So if we make it bankable, if we employ the best of technology and the bank can see it end to end, there is a lot that we are doing in works, in road maintenance, in road in infrastructures, quite a lot. We only need to fashion and package the WASH programs so that it aligns to these boxes that have been mentioned earlier, and so that we take all the boxes and we can move forward and make much progress. Thank you.
A round of applause for him. You say package the WASH projects. You need to learn how to package it. Other sectors, they are packaging. It be like we know the package. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. If Lagos State concession WASH projects, the banks will put the funds to execute those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From what we have heard from yesterday, we have heard that good leadership and governance will guarantee a lot of things. I think we have this in Lagos, and there is consistency in government because, and the environment is right, is okay. And yesterday, we all listened to Mr. Governor. He said, in 12 to 18 months, make sure you do something. That is tone from the top, and that matters a lot. So I'm sure the commission already knows the level of water they need in Lagos. I think what they should now do is partner with DMO, determine the funding gap, and speak to Mr. Governor. I'm sure the deal is done already. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, our very distinguished and erudite panelists, for sparing us your time and for gracing this session with your presence. We truly appreciate. On that note, we end this session. We just have a quick photograph and we draw the curtains. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay. I am going. All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.